So here we're going to be putting a hitch on a 2021 Ford Fusion Hybrid. You have to cut the corners of the plastic off right here is what I'm showing you in order to get this hitch to fit right. There's a hardware kit that you have to slide these plates up inside these holes and then leave them flat. Right here you can stick your finger in and actually center the plate where you want it. Here's the screws that go up through there with this spring wire that you feed through the hole and pull through the brackets. That spring right there goes on the end of these screws, bolts, and then you pull them up through the hole, which I show you right here. I'm eventually going to have to put the camera down because it's hard to do with one hand. They have a bend on the end of them, but I find if I bend it a little bit more my way, they fit inside the receiving slot on the second hole that you're actually trying to pull through better. Here you see me trying to fish it through, but I'm having some difficulties because I have one hand. I got close a couple times, but I'm going to cut out. I'm going to put the camera down for a second and fish it through because it's just easier to use two hands. At this point here, you can see that I actually have it lined up with the hole, but it's hard for me to push it through. So I got to put the camera down and grab a pair of needle nose pliers and actually finish pulling it through that hole as I get it lined back up. Here's just a regular pair of needle nose pliers that I'm going to actually fish up into that hole and pull that wire through. You can see here I got it pulled through, and then you just pull on the wire until it comes off the threads just nice and easy, and the bolt stays exactly where it's supposed to be. Throw it away because you really can't reuse it, and then put your plate up in the front hole and then fish your bolt through, and then take your needle nose pliers and pull the spring through when you get close, and then just lightly pull it right off, and now you've got the passenger side done. And then you'll switch over and do the same thing on the driver's side. Here you're going to see I fish it up in there just nice and easy, let it fall right there, and then I take my finger and I recenter it back over where it's supposed to be, which there it is. And then I'll actually grab the spring, thread it into the next bolt, feed it through the back open hole, and then pull it through, and the square part underneath the head actually will catch inside the square part of that bracket that it's going into. And then that flat bracket lays on the channel and stops the bracket from spinning, so you can then in turn start your nut. Here there's a washer, and it's kind of concaved on one side and convex on the other, and it's got these little ribbed edges. The ribbed edges need to go up. I had it for a second, but then I had to go ask somebody for help. What I did was I held it up there by myself, and then I took my head and centered it right underneath the hitch, and I ended up having to ask for a hand just to hold it so I can get the bolt started. The actual flange part needs to go to the inside of where the muffler tip comes down, or else it won't fit. It'll just slide right up in there. You can see me here struggling with it a little bit, trying to get the bolts lined up. It's easier if you have two people because at least they can kind of help guide you on it. Here I eventually did end up getting it by myself as I was trying to line it up, and then I took my head and stuck it underneath it. And if I would have been ready, I could have got that bolt on real quick. But I should have had somebody else there to start the bolts while I was actually holding it. So I had my coworker come over and start the one bolt and just run it up. And what ended up happening is he had the washer on with the ribbed edges down. You need the part that's actually with the ribbed edges going up, so as you tighten the bolt, it crushes the flat surface into the metal and acts as a lock washer. So he got one started, and one of them was good enough to hold the whole thing so he could walk away, and then I finished the rest of the bolts myself. I had to use one finger to hold the stud, and then at the same time I started the nut, and that was all she wrote. Then eventually I had all 4 bolts in the vehicle. Here you see I'm just real lightly putting it in, and I go around and I do the other 3 the same way. You just run it up until it stops. And another See how I put that ribbed side up? See, this one's moving around a little bit. You can get it if you're careful and just barely start one. But I'm going to eventually switch to two hands because it was too much me screwing around with that thing because it kept pushing back up in there. If it pushes back up in there, you're going to have to actually try to fish it out with a magnet. So I recommend holding it while you're trying to start the nut. This here called for a, I think it was like an 11/16 socket or something like that, but instead I grabbed a 17. A 17 millimeter will fit over it, and the nut torque is 55 foot-pounds. So this is actually a very expensive digital snap-on ratchet. You can use a mechanical clip type ratchet as well. I ended up paying like $570 for this because I do a lot of cylinder head torque to yield stuff and angle jobs. So this this torque wrench actually comes in very, very handy. So I'm off to the side right now. I torque the first one to 55 foot-pounds, and then I go to each one after that and torque to each one of them to 55 foot-pounds. This gauge has a digital readout display. It also has lights that light up on the end. As you get closer to where it's supposed to be, it will light green and tell you to stop, that you're torqued to what you're supposed to be. So eventually here in a second, you're going to see me actually do that. And you might even catch a glimpse of the lights as it lights up. I went like 56.5 foot-pounds because you never really stop exactly where you're supposed to, because we have a tendency to go just a hair more. That's just natural human instinct. But these manufacturers take that into consideration with error. So each one of these so far I've torqued to 55 foot-pounds. Now I bump over to this side, and I'm using about a 12-inch half-inch drive extension with that 17 millimeter socket on it. And see, I'm putting down there, it's a little tight. It will go on, but it's tight because it's not exactly the right socket, and I don't have any kind of standard sockets. Now, I looked around to see if you could see that LED screen, but as you see, I'm going to try to make it to where you can kind of see just a hair of it where it's starting to light up as I get closer to my torque. And I over torque there, and then there it flashes, and there's the green light. And then I'm going to show you here at this one exactly what I ended up finishing torquing them at. It's just about a pound and a half more than what the manufacturer recommends. Because naturally, again, you don't stop exactly when you're supposed to. You try to do the best you can, but they take that error into consideration when they make these hardware kits for this stuff. So there I am, I'm close. I slipped off for a second because, again, I'm in an odd, awkward spot, and we're torqued. There's the green lights. I'm going to show you 56.5 foot-pounds. We're all torqued. We're good. Just a little bit over. Everything's fine. Now, this is what it looks like after it's installed. Nice, dressed up, centered. Customer's going to be happy. And again, thank you for watching. I appreciate this. Here is some videos with different languages and the actual part numbers for everything. This is a draw Tite hitch. I show I think it's French and also Spanish directions. And this is exactly what you get in the kit with it as well. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for being here. I don't just do performance stuff. I do manufacturer repairs and stuff as well. Throw you guys a bone, cover recalls, warranty stuff, and all that other good jazz that, I don't know, maybe one day I could get in trouble for. But right now it's going pretty good. I'm open, I'm honest, and I talk about everything that goes on the manufacturer and dealer life, and I just give it to you. Have a blessed rest of your week. I hope you have a great start to your weekend. You have a fun weekend. As always, have a blessed day. And for my Spanish-speaking people, que tengas un buen día.